to thank everybody for attending this session. We're going to talk about a journey to IFS Cloud. You've already heard from Andy Wilhelm here next to me, but we're going to go over and review a little bit of the lessons learned. And as we do that, let me cover the quick topics. I'll cover introductions in a minute. We're going to cover a little bit about Novacura, just briefly, just so that you have some context. But we want to get right into the Mistras Cloud journey and hear from Andy in terms of what they're doing. Some of it, because it wasn't really, I don't think he knew he was going to present for IFS, so some of it was, it's going to be a little bit repetitive, but you're going to see a little bit, probably a little bit more detail than what you might have heard just a few minutes ago on stage. And then as we close, we're going to discuss some of the challenges that we as a company, Novacura, are seeing, not only in the US, but in Europe as well, and I'll cover that in a minute. And then we'll try to end with closing comments. If there is time, maybe we'll entertain some questions, okay? Volume still okay for people in the back? Okay. So my name is Jansen Davidson. I am the sales director for Novacura North America. I started with the company in 2017. I actually helped launch the US office. It's a Swedish-based company. I helped launch the US office, launch the go-to-market strategy around the product we call Novacura Flow. I did take a 2-year hiatus, let's say. I worked for a Microsoft partner where I launched and managed a Power Apps practice. So I've been in the low-code platform space for a very long time. I missed the Novacura product, the team, the IFS ecosystem so much I decided to come back to Novacura, resume my responsibilities, expand them, I would say, since August. So that's a little about me. Andy, I'll cover here in just a minute. Novacura is a gold channel partner of IFS. We've been channel partner of the year several years. But that's mainly due because of what we're doing and what they do over there in Europe. Just let me explain this a little bit. So if you look at Novacura, we're located in 10 countries. But over there in the Nordics, Sweden and Scandinavia, over there we are primarily and known obviously as an IFS channel partner. Over there we resell IFS, we implement IFS, we upgrade IFS. We've got several cloud projects going on right now. Whereas over here in the US, we're primarily focused on the product, Novacura Flow. So that is our tip of the spear, per se, over here. So Novacura North America or US, we're not really implementing the IFS projects. We're working with partners. Mistras is a partner of Novacura. We're working with them. We're equipping them, supporting them with Novacura Flow to help and basically enable them to facilitate their projects, upgrades, and so forth. So just want to help you understand that difference. Briefly on Novacura Flow, I don't want this to be a commercial about us. I just bring this up so just to give you some of the context as to what Andy's going to be talking about when I kind of turn this over to him. But Novacura is basically a low-code platform for IFS applications. Novacura, the DNA of our company is IFS. We live it, we know it backwards and forwards. Our customers, again, they're pretty much all of our customers are IFS customers. And when you look at the product, here's just a quick screenshot. This is what we call Flow Studio. This is think of it as kind of a process engine where, let's say you're in the warehouse, you want to draw your inventory move process. You use our tool to draw that process out. It's a drag and drop kind of a design wizard. You drop in your connections, and 9 times out of 10 it's going to be an IFS connection. You save that application and it becomes your mobile app, or you save this process and it becomes your mobile application. So when you draw this process out, you save it, you publish it, that kind of gives you a little bit of the look and feel as to what the UI, the true end user experience looks like. So I basically tell people we extend IFS wherever it needs to go. We don't care. We don't care if it's in the shop floor. We don't care if it's in the warehouse. We don't care if you're in the field. We don't care if you're back office. It doesn't really matter. It's a system that runs online, offline, and pretty much goes everywhere. It deploys to hardware devices like Zebra, we're hardware agnostic, so when you push that app out, it goes right to, it can go to the Android devices you have, iOS devices. We don't really care on that. So that's kind of the high level of what the product is and what it's about. And now we're going to get into the Mistras. We want to get right into the Mistras journey. I want Andy here to do most of the talking. But when I came back to Novacura in August, one of the first things I did was reach out to Andy just to get an update, what he's been up to, what kind of trouble he's gotten himself into, that kind of stuff. And the conversation turned pretty quick to what he was doing with IFS and where he was headed. It was clear to me that Andy knows exactly, and he's always known exactly what he wants to do and how he wants to do things. But these are the 4 things that he shared with me in his journey to IFS Cloud, what he wants to use this opportunity to do for the business, for himself, for the users. The first thing was he's treating this as a fresh implementation. So he mentioned that earlier on stage. He's not looking at this as an upgrade. He's looking at this eyes wide open. He likes what he's seeing, where IFS has gone with cloud, what they're doing, the features they're giving and providing, and he's going to use it as a restart, if you will, on the IFS journey. He wants to stay out of box. He wants to remain evergreen coming out of this. He doesn't want to bring any of his customizations or modifications over. We all can probably relate to this, right? Over the years, we've done it, we've had to do it, and there's a place for it. But with cloud, this is an opportunity, hey, let's just see what we can do to leverage the out-of-box technologies and features that are available in cloud, and let's just go with it so we can stop this process of constantly modifying. And all of this to accomplish number 4, eliminate technical debt. Now, I know we all can relate to this. Whether it's customizations, modifications, adding new products, third-party products, whatever it is, this is an opportunity for Andy to also remove, if not eliminate altogether, a lot of his technical debt that's been accumulated over the years. So that's where I'm going to leave it for me right now. Andy, if you don't mind, just introduce yourself. I know we kind of already heard from you, but just give us a refresh of your role at Mistras, what you've been up to, what you're trying to do.
So I'm the VP of IT at Mistras. Loud enough for everybody? We have global operations, mostly North America and Western Europe. We're spreading into Mexico. We've got some operations in South America. I don't know, around 65 offices in North America, about a little more than 100 globally speaking. And in the headquarters in Princeton Junction, New Jersey, our IT team looks after IT for all of those global operations. The company had IFS before I came in. They've had it since version 2004. I don't know if it came in 2004, I wasn't there. But, and about a year before I got to Mistras, they had upgraded from 2004 to 7.5. So when I came in, they had already pretty much broken it, right? So you have your user groups throughout the company. And they're constantly clamoring about their experience and what they need. And, you know, as IT people, we're always, you know, stop crying about stuff, you know, just use it the way it's meant to be used. But you never ultimately win that fight. The problem, I think, with Mistras and the way that they looked at it early on was who's the user, right? So we have administrators in all of these offices constantly interacting with IFS. We use it for time entry, for payroll. We use it for purchase orders and purchasing, AR/AP, invoicing. We don't really use it for HR purposes. We kind of have another HRIS system that feeds it. So we're not using that part of the functionality. So what they started doing was they started to modify. And back in the 7.5 days, it was a programmatic modification. So we broke wage codes and craft IDs. We broke the purchase order process. We had asked IFS to change all of these functions for us. And then as we kind of started getting towards 9, we started looking more at customization, right? So we add fields, we add screens, we add forms and you know, different aspects to it. And then the users themselves, are deciding what they will and will not input into the system. I don't need a purchase order, so I just leave that blank. We make it mandatory, they complain, we have to make it not mandatory again. And so over time, what's happened is the data in our system has really not become useful to other groups of users. Our CFO, the accounting staff, the finance staff, senior management, you know, they're trying to run operations reports and look at sales by sector and sales by customer and customer type. And none of that out-of-box functionality from IFS works for us anymore because we've bastardized the data so horribly that we can't even, to close a month, the poor controller has to pull 7 crystal reports that we've built, dump them into Excel, line them up, put them together, and then now you have a financial report for one legal entity, right? So over the years, we started engaging Nova, what, about 5-6 years ago? On a light project. It was actually another channel partner that brought you guys to us. And we looked at this low-code development platform. And Jansen talks about how it ties in natively with IFS, which is true. But it also ties in with any other kind of database that, at least that we use at Mistras. So you can pull data from IFS's Oracle database, you can pull data from your HRIS Oracle database, you can pull data or write data to SQL databases, homegrown applications. And what we found is, you know, we're trying to whittle down our systems. So we have IFS, we have a payroll system, LMS, if you guys aren't familiar with that term, for us, that's our lab management systems for a lot of these offices. We have HRIS, but our customers are running what's called an IDMS. They have their own project management platform, right? A lot of them use something called Primavera, or they use Microsoft Project. And they're looking to get their data in KPIs that they want to see, not the way that we want to generate it. So we've laid NovaFlow around all of those systems, and we're pulling data natively from all these systems, we're matching them up, and we're giving information back to our customers in the way that they want to see it. So with this upgrade from IFS 9 to IFS Cloud, as I said, one of my main goals is I don't want to have programmatic modifications. I don't want customization. I want to use IFS the way it's meant to be used. But then how do we deal with what our users and our customers' users want in their experience? And that's where NovaFlow comes in. So we actually have this implemented in 3 of our offices right now. It's end-stage beta testing, but we're using Nova to actually pull work orders out of IFS, turn them into RT tasks and UT tasks and visual inspections, schedule that work out to a technician, dispatch that work, right? So your light blue boxes are happening in one of our offices. Dispatch that work out. The technician wakes up in the morning, he's got 3 tasks in his inbox. He's got PDFs attached to them, ISO diagrams of the refinery that he's going to, all the information he needs to, for example, build an RT report. That's radiographic for us. He's then on his iPad completing that task, right, out in the field, taking his measurements, measuring this pipe thickness, all corrosion rate, entering it in, and generating a PDF report for the customer. Capturing the customer's signature in the field, entering how long he worked on that job, entering what kind of consumables. I used 10 pieces of film. I used this radiographic source that's billable at $15 an hour, whatever it is. Generates that report, and instantly back in the office, the level 3 technician can review this report. And he can sign off on it, which is, you know, part of our legal standings. We have to have a level 3 review and sign off on a lot of these reports. And as soon as that review is done, the deliverable is created and sent out to the customer. Then we take all of that time and consumable and asset data that the technician put in the field, suck it back into IFS, and we're ready to generate our invoice from IFS out to the customer. So we're not really touching or impacting IFS's design for how their system is supposed to be used, but we're still accomplishing what we want for our users, for the customers' users out in the field.
Can you take this to, again, the lessons learned? As you mentioned earlier, you're early in the journey, but have you anything the audience here can benefit from? Just even though you're early, what have you learned through this journey going to cloud? Anything unexpected? What can you tell the audience here on that?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, you have more than just one type of user, right? So you can't just look at, for us, our lab admins who are entering data into IFS and only worry about their experience. We have to worry about our accounting data consumers, our CFO, our senior management, operational data. We have to be able to slice and dice this data however the company wants and needs at any given time. For us, all the modifications that we made to IFS over the years has disabled our ability to do that with the data. And that's one of the things that we want to overcome. But what we also want to be able to do, as I was saying before, is this evergreen concept becomes a serious pain in the butt when you've made modifications. So when I was there for the 7.5 to 9 upgrade, that took us 12 or 13 months because it's a matter of standing up the 9 environment, bringing in your modifications, testing it, bringing in a second modification, testing them both. It becomes exponentially more complicated when you're not using the system the way it's meant to be used. And my hope is that if we can leave IFS Cloud as vanilla as possible, then we can just slide in these updates as they come out twice a year and constantly be on the front edge of what IFS is offering us as a company.
That's good. Appreciate that. So what I want to do as we kind of close this off, quick time check here, a couple of minutes, is I want to review the top 3 challenges that we're seeing. And when I say we, I mean Novacura globally. It's not just the US, it's all around. A lot of which will kind of reiterate and support kind of what Andy's already seeing and kind of talking about. But the challenge one is, again, migrating the mods and the customizations to newer versions. What we're doing, and we're doing this a lot in the Nordics, where Novacura, the platform is becoming where the nuances of the business and the processes need to live. So in order to stay out of box in cloud, some of those processes have to live somewhere. Maybe that process gives these companies a competitive advantage on pricing. Maybe it gives it an advantage on turnaround times. Whatever it is, the processes often live in Novacura Flow. So if there's a tweak or if there's a change that has to be made, we're no longer making those mods or changes in IFS. But we got to bring them over. They got to live somewhere. They often live in Novacura Flow. Challenge 2, the integration of legacy systems. You heard Andy talk about the other systems that they have. But the reality is, with Novacura, that we don't just have connectors for IFS. It is our most common connector, but the reality is that we have people in Access databases. They got a human resource system that's on an Oracle database. They got people on a SQL database. Like, having the platform able to support that is helping people integrate those legacy systems. And as we see these customers moving off legacy systems, but this gives them a kind of a short-term fix until they can get to doing that. Challenge number 3, and I would argue, from my experience and what I'm seeing, is the most underestimated. And Andy really did a good job of talking about it, and that's user adoption or workforce adoption. So my background and experience, we typically see when we gauge success, and I'm using a quote from Gartner here, the benefits an organization plans to realize from a new ERP system will not materialize until users have embraced and are productive with the new processes in the system. Basically what that is saying is what we probably should be doing is not defining our success by go-live dates. Whether it's an upgrade, whether it's a new implementation, new project, I think we have the tendency to define success by go-live. It's important, it's a milestone, it absolutely has to happen. But the reality is, you go live, then the users start interacting with the system. And what happens? This is not how I'm used to doing a purchase order. Like, what just happened here? So where we come in. What I would argue with this is user adoption needs to be the definition of success. Okay, go live obviously has to happen, but as you heard from Andy, it's not just one user you have to worry about, right? With ERP systems, you have to worry about dozens of business units, and these business units have all their own users, and so you got to be pretty flexible. And so I would argue that that's where we really come in and help our partners here in the U.S. is to help meet the user adoption needs of all their projects. Because you heard me say earlier, we extend IFS wherever it needs to go. It doesn't matter. You know, there's probably an app that we have or something that we have in Marketplace, which this was a big project for us years ago. We've had it up and running now for a few years. This is our Marketplace. We're tackling the user adoption problem with this. When I first started with Novacure in 2017, we kind of relied on people building these apps from scratch on their own. You know, we would help them, we would train them, heck, we might even build the first app for them. But we learned in 2020 that, look, people really need a template or an accelerator, something to get them started, and that's what this library does. But if you look at this and you do a search by, if you typed in mobile work order, boom, you'll see all the mobile work order apps that we have connected to IFS right out of the gate. And again, to facilitate user adoption. We have warehouse management apps, but this is a big reason why we have it. Some of these apps include mobile applications, web apps, portals, dashboards. You see these things running on Zebra. That's exactly what they look like. Again, we're just, IFS Cloud's doing amazing things. It's going to be great for the customers, but we're just trying to make sure that the day-to-day users, the folks in the warehouse, the folks wearing welding gloves, you know, that they have something that they can interact with to get that data that we need in IFS. I think I actually made it right on time. We have maybe a minute, 2 minutes tops. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. If not, they can wait and you can come visit us at the booth.